Hello, everybody. This is episode 21 of the Cosmic Force. We are officially legal. We're official drinking age legal. My name is Tyler Riganti, and on tonight's show, we have a special guest joining us to discuss manga in the Star Wars universe. We'll talk about the books currently available, as well as which books coming soon we're most excited for. We'll also check in with Jacob to see if his required reading has gotten any more interesting. And of course, we'll discuss what's new on our weekly pull list. And to celebrate tonight's being our episode 21, we all have decided to have our own little frosty beverage here. And so I'm going to send my first cheers over to my first co-host of the night, Caleb. How's it going tonight, Caleb? Cheers on me reaching episode 21.
Cheers to number 21, and to let's do another 210 here. Let's keep it up by a factor of 10. I'm doing really well. I'm glad to be here. Got my, I have one beer left in my fridge, so I managed to pull that out here. Not because I bought this back in December, so it's not because I'm constantly running out. It's because I always forget I have beer. So this is going to be for episode 21. I'm looking forward to a really good thing. I'm as best described as a retired weeb. I don't follow it as closely as I did in college, but no, I still got my my anime shop. So cheers to 21.
All right.
And cheers to best producer we could hope for, Jacob. How's it going?
I am surviving. I don't know if I can I read like a little bit of, someone got me into like a manga in high school. That's about as close as I got. I was never a big Dragon Ball or a Naruto fan, so not really an anime person, but I have beer, so I guess that's good for something. But yeah.
All right,
Tyler. Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say we're gonna send our last cheers over to our special guest host of the night, Heather.
Hey
cheers
guys!
To you. Welcome to the Cosmic
Cheers!
Force.
Thank you for having me.
Yes,
I'm so honored to be part of episode 21, and that was a gimlet that I just drank. And I am a semi-functioning weeb, so there you go. That's why I'm here.
Yeah, exactly. I was gonna say Emma is moving this weekend, so or this week, so she decided that she needed to take some time to rest after a stressful move. So we're hoping everything is moved in and you're enjoying your new place. And we decided what better topic to talk about than manga, because Heather, you've got some, I guess you could say, some experience with manga, right?
I definitely do, especially with the Star Wars manga, because I actually I have a good chunk of the collection right here.
Oh, nice.
I think out of the Star Wars manga, the only one I'm missing is Guardian of the Wills, because to be honest, that one kind of slipped by me, but I need to read the original novel for that anyway. But
all of like 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago.
It's very recent.
It is very recent, but I've actually been really enjoying the Star Wars manga. I'm honestly not that big of a manga reader. Like, I know it, I appreciate it, I have read some. I'm more of like an anime watcher, but I do still love like manga.
Well, that's great. Yeah, tonight is going to be a really fun show. If you're joining us for the first time, welcome. We normally talk about Star Wars comics, but this week we're going to expand upon that into the manga universe. We broadcast live right here on youtube.com/Youtini every Wednesday night at 8 o'clock. If you can't join us live, that's okay. Our videos are available on this YouTube channel whenever you need them. So go ahead and subscribe to this channel so you can know when our videos are new. And we're also on all of your favorite podcasting platforms. We are also part of the Youtini podcasting network of nearly a dozen shows and a Discord channel at youtini.com/Discord with more than 1,000 members with dozens of channels to choose from, including a very popular channel these days. The Ronin channel continues to be, as we get closer to that. I'm sorry, not the Visions channel. That has become a very popular channel of late, and we will be discussing that later in the show. If you liked what you see and you want to say thanks, then head over to Patreon, our Patreon channel at patreon.com/Youtini, where for as little as $5 a month, you can gain exclusive access to the entire Youtini podcast network of shows, as well as exclusive merch and community involvement activities. So before we get started today, we have a little bit of news. It's not Star Wars related news, but it is comic related news. And I want to shout out to Timothy, because he shared that in our Slack channel, like 7 o'clock, like about an hour ago. So Jacob, why don't you go ahead and tell us what this interesting news is for you Comixology users out there?
Yeah, so it would be great. Unfortunately, Emma cannot join us because she is the main Comixology user out of all of us. But yeah, Comixology is getting a pretty big update this fall. If you weren't aware, it is an Amazon company, and they are going full Amazon now. So accounts are just Amazon accounts now. There will be no individual Comixology account, which has been the recommended way for a little while, but now it's a forced integration. And the Comixology website or web page, as you know, is going away. It'll be on Amazon, I'm assuming, just like Prime Video or Amazon Music is. So take that as you will. I'm not a huge fan of how they integrate those extra services, but the nice things are some improvements. They are adding actual search filters for stuff on the website, because if you've never used it before, if you search on Comixology and you just search Darth Vader, it's just gonna throw random Darth Vader stuff. I hope you don't want to find one from 2020, because you're just gonna have to scroll through it till you find what you're looking for. So that'll be great. And there's also some new features with how mobile app users get to interact with it. So yeah, the big thing is the full integration with Amazon. Hopefully, the search functions will make it a much better user experience, though.
Yeah, I do a lot of my reading with physical copies, but I've dabbled in Comixology before, and that's kind of what was my turnoff. Was you would try to tell me, in order to search for a comic, I had to put in like this exact phrasing with the exact title and everything, and it was just a real headache. So I don't. Heather, do you read any comics digitally, or are you a physical copy, or how do you consume your comics?
Honestly, every time I try to get into comics digitally, like I'll read like the first issue of something with the mindset like, oh, I'm gonna keep up with this, and then I kind of just like drop it and forget it. Like that's exactly what I did with the High Republic. I did get issue number 1, and it completely blew me away. I loved it, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna keep up with this, and then I just forget that they come out, and then I'm like, oh, and they're kind of like $4 each, but I'm just gonna wait for like the volumes to come out, and then it'll be a lot like easier for me to just binge it.
Well, that's a perfect segue, because the High Republic trade paperback is out, and we are actually covering that next week as our roundtable. So you can join in with everybody else the discussion next week, because it is available. Local comic stores have it. Caleb, I believe if you ordered it via Amazon or some other third-party distributor, it should be in the 7th, just in time for our roundtable next week.
Absolutely, unless shipping gets slowed up, because I know that's been a little slow depending on where you're at for a bit. But no, yeah, it should be arriving here next week-ish, right before the show, so you can cram in all those issues there, no problem. It's going to be in our fun roundtable there.
I will be sure to order it on youtini.com using our affiliate link.
And if you want to use the affiliate link, that is in the YouTube description right now, so you can go grab your copy.
All right, let's go ahead and get into the main show, and we'll start where we normally do with the weekly pull list. And speaking of the High Republic, we have a brand new issue out today. Jacob, what issues? What's the story on this one?
Yeah, so it's a very High Republic week for comics. We got High Republic number 9, Shadow of the Nihil, Chapter 1, Jedi No More, written by Kevin Scott, with pencils by Ario Anandito, covers by Phil Noto, inker Mark Morales, colorist is Rochelle Rosenberg, and the letterer is Ariana Mayer. And then next, of course, we have High Republic Adventures number 8, written by Daniel Jose Older. Art, this is the first issue with art not by Harvey Tolabau, it's by Tony Bruno. We have colors from Rebecca Nalty, letterer is Jake M. Wood. So these both are kind of new starts to both of the runs, a new story arc specifically for the High Republic. So if you haven't been reading them, now would be an okay time to jump on them and get started. You would be missing obviously a little bit of setup for Kiev and for Lula and for Zine and all these characters, but I think it's a good time to jump on, especially if you can, go grab that trade paperback for High Republic. And of course, as always, the links to those two comics for Comixology are in the YouTube description for you to go pick up.
Yes, I was able to get my hands on High Republic #9. That is an interesting new beginning of an arc that they're doing. So I'm excited to see where that goes. So, all right, let's move on to what we're loving, and we'll start with my art of the week. And this again is coming from my Age of Rebellion hardback. This one specifically is from the Boba Fett book. The artist is Mark Lamming, and the color artist is Tamara Bonvillain. And I mean, this image kind of speaks for itself. I mean, you have Boba Fett riding this mechanical four-legged animal, whatever it is, and I mean, it was just, as soon as I turned the page, it was just staring at me, and I'm like, okay, this is definitely some of the coolest stuff. I mean, just when you think Boba Fett can't get any cooler, he walks around or he rides around on this thing. So that is my art of the week. Heather, we're going to go to you next, and you've got a very unique submission for art of the week as well.
Yes, I'm excited for mine. Okay, so when it comes to comic panels and stuff, like I've read some comics, but I don't keep that in tune. But I did think about this one when you guys asked me, and I actually have the book right here. It's actually from the Legends of Luke Skywalker, the manga, because this is like a manga adaptation of the novel. And this panel is from a story in here called I, Droid by Haorichi. And I really like this one because where else would you ever see Luke in a 3PO suit holding his lightsaber? Like, I thought I was having a fever dream when I saw that, because at first you see him like with the helmet on. You don't know it's Luke at first. So you just see 3PO holding a lightsaber, looking like a bad bee. And I'm just like, what is going on here? But yeah, like, Luke goes undercover as a droid for whatever reason. And it's just like, that's why I love manga. Like it really surprises me with all this out of this world stuff. But I highly recommend this book. This is actually the only Star Wars manga that I can think of that doesn't go by the traditional like reading backwards format. But this would be a very great introduction to get into manga if you're a fan of Star Wars and you kind of just want to read normally the first time and not have to deal with the whole like reading panels like out of order.
All right. Yeah, we're gonna get into that when we get into the main show, because I have a lot of questions about that. But that is, I mean, Luke dresses as C-3PO. I mean, that's, if that doesn't get you excited for Star Wars, for a unique Star Wars story, I don't know what will. Caleb, what do you have this week?
All right, I'm continuing my trend. This is from Knights of the Old Republic, issue 32, art by Brian Ching and Joe Pentimilli. It's just a bunch of like really fun, chaotic Jedi action here, as there's just like a big almost civil war going on, and it's just fun to see like a huge like chaotic scene of action and Jedi and robes and lightsabers. It's just a really unique scene, and if you haven't read KOTOR, it's definitely worth going back and getting the omnibus and really just diving into this fully complete story. So that's why I picked this one. It's just because I was like, ooh, there's some really good splash art. So you'll probably see a lot more of this, Knights of the Old Republic over the next couple of weeks from me. But from you, we got a couple of community submissions today, and this week's winner, I think, was kind of almost unanimous here, and this was from our very own Blind Fates. He's down there in the chat, and this is from Dawn of the Jedi, Force Storm #1. And like, when I first saw this, I'm like, for one, that looks like a fantasy novel cover.
Absolutely.
And for two, I'm like, I have to read his story now. Like, I have no idea what's going on here. I've never even heard of this one yet. Like, it just looks so dynamic. It looks like a movie poster, with all the characters splayed out, like the dynamic action at the bottom. Like, just like when I saw this, I'm like, wait, is this an MMO, like, cover art for a video game? I don't get it.
Yeah, when you and I were discussing this in the pre-show, like we both had to like look it up and be like, what is this? Where is this from? Because this is not anything that I had seen before, and it looks really really cool. So, thank you, Blind Fates, for submitting that. All right, now we're going to check in with what Jacob is reading. Our new fun segment that we've added now that you're in law school. So you had told us that this week's reading was actually a little bit more interesting. Tell us why.
Well, yes, sort of. As interesting as it could be. No, I was reading a contracts case about specific performance. So I know there was one person in the chat that went to law school. So maybe you'll understand it, but basically it was someone had a collectible item that was able to be forced through specific performance through contract law, which just reminds me of like every time we've lost out on collectibles on the internet because someone went and sold it for a higher price. That is basically where we're at here, but with a car. So that was kind of interesting. Yeah, I don't ask me why. That's the only thing I'm reading now, and it's kind of sad. So yeah, I think we're just gonna head to our merch break from here, and then we'll come back and talk about some Star Wars manga in a minute.
And we're back. So we just wanted to take a moment here to, because some of us are more familiar with the art form than others. We just want to take a quick guide here to talk about, all right, what is manga? What are some of the differences here? Kind of a brief overview of what it is. So Heather, why don't you, how would you sum up manga in like a 15-second elevator pitch?
Okay. Oh gosh, 15 seconds. Oh gosh, there goes 2 seconds. Okay. So Japanese manga is so you know how Western comics is usually like glossy and colorful, where Japanese manga is actually black and white on a rough page. And whereas like for us, we would read the comic from the front to the back, left to right. Well, with manga, you actually read, and I have a good example right here with Lost Stars. Like this is actually what we would consider the back of the page, and when you open it you would read it from like left to right and then down. But like usually in Japan, the manga would be ahead of its respective anime series, and the manga pages would come out like every month, whereas the anime would kind of like follow up on that and catch up with it every week.
Exactly. Yeah, like manga is that the big thing that makes manga a lot different from Western sort of things than like publishing wise is that, as we go over every day with our pull list, it's a big team effort to put out a monthly comic book. There's a single writer, an artist, sometimes just an inker on top of it, or penciler and an inker, and then a colorist. Meanwhile, manga, the writers, often called mangaka, in case we ever refer to that down the line, they're the writers and the drawers. So like when you're getting like something like a One Piece, like Oda, the guy who writes it, is the same guy who draws it. So you're getting like everything from one person. So it's a lot of kind of directly from one person. And when Star Wars and manga and like Japanese culture does have a long history, it doesn't take a huge Star Wars nerd to know that George Lucas was heavily influenced by works of film by Akira Kurosawa, like The Hidden Fortress and other sort of Japanese Western sort of flair. So when we finally see like a crossover like this is exciting stuff. This is kind of Star Wars getting back to the roots. To kind of get a little bit in the weeds here, you know, a lot of people like the Mandalorian so much because they went back to that Western feel. Kind of they went back to their roots, and a lot of, you know, the Mandalorian is based almost completely off of well, at least the premise is based off of a very famous series called Lone Wolf and Cub, I want to say. It's essentially where a you know, grizzled samurai warrior is walking across Edo as he's being, you know, pursued by assassins, you know, trying to protect his young child in a stroller. So really kind of archetypical sort of thing. So it's really exciting to kind of go back through some of these old titles here and kind of, you know, see where like these industries have kind of made touches and then where it's going to go from here. So Jacob, why don't you lead us off? What are some of the like earliest manga titles that we had here?
Yeah, so we've had a little bit of a canon manga renaissance, I would say, in like the past 3 years or so. But it's not the first time we've seen manga in Star Wars, and that would actually start back in 1998 with an adaptation of A New Hope. So we got, you know, there's been plenty of comic book and novel adaptations, but we had a manga adaptation of the movie by Hisao Tamaki in 1998. It is like brutally difficult to find any information about them. Like, just try and look up the Wikipedia pages for them, and they're like 2 sentences, like straight up. It'll be like, go to the art, like start with the artist, because it's a lot easier to search the artist or the author's name than A New Hope on Wikipedia. And it'd be like 2 sentences, like, this person wrote A New Hope manga, and I click on A New Hope manga. It's like, this was released in 1998, and like there's very little information about it. But they were, I think, in 4 like Western issues that were compiled into a volume of manga. So there was a New Hope one. We had an Empire Strikes Back manga by Toshiki Kudo in 1998. This is very 90s Japanese art. Like, I feel like Dragon Ball Z is about to come on at like 9 a.m. on a Saturday. And then we had Return of the Jedi by Shinichi Hiromoto also in 1999. And then we got a Phantom Menace adaptation from Kiya Asamiya in 1999 as well. So there we do have, I mean, it's Legends, but it's also movie adaptation. So it's not, you know, we're not talking about like Darth Bane or anything here. But yeah, we do have a history of manga in Star Wars before the Disney purchase, albeit, you know, not very much.
Exactly. So, you know, after this time period of like 1999, you know, early 2000s sort of thing, there's a kind of, it went media silent dark for a while until 2006 when the publisher Tokyo Pop put out 2 volumes, Star Wars Manga Black and Star Wars Manga Silver. No, not like the Pokemon. They're both completely different things from each other. Each one was kind of like a compilation series with like 4 or 5 smaller, shorter stories in between them. This one I was able to get a lot more information from, like someone actually must have read these and, you know, put a lot more information out. Interestingly enough, it was originally introduced under the Infinites label, which is kind of the Star Wars What If series that they were doing, which we really should do a whole episode on. I have a book of the whole Infinites like collection there, and there's some really wild stuff. You know, each one was done by a different artist slash writer, and as cool as these are, like when I saw these, like, oh boy, I can't wait to get my hands on these. Unfortunately, they were never published in America. They were only in Japan and the United Kingdom. So, you know, maybe we'll be able to find some one of these days, but these mystic things are kind of lost to time right now, unfortunately.
We need to get Trevor on the case. I'm sure with enough time and eBay, Trevor can track them down for us.
Trevor could find anything. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, well, we'll have to at him in a little bit.
So there was a little bit of a once these kind of came and went. We now have what some of you in the chat have already mentioned, that the Lost Stars and such. The publisher Yen Press is currently focusing on adaptations of current canon. We have of course the Rebels book by Akira Aoki that was released on December 2019.
That's honestly my favorite Star Wars manga. It's so great, especially when you compare it to the show. Like, it's amazing.
Like,
So
It
yeah,
seems
I
to
was
be
gonna say, so let's talk about that for a little bit, because in our notes it says a sped up. It's kind of a sped up retelling of the TV show. And so far the second version I think is coming out, or two
It is
episodes.
coming out soon, yeah.
It is coming out. So okay, so what exactly do you like Rebels, and that's why you like the this manga, or what is it about this manga that makes it that you like so much?
Okay, so Rebels is already a fantastic show on its own. Like, I
Sure.
absolutely love it. It's great. It has a lot to offer. Like, it surprised me with like how quickly it kind of just like shot off into like, heartwarming territory and just shocking events and stuff like that. Um, the first volume of this manga, like it made a really big impression on me because it really does capture the like anime art style that I already know and love from like my favorite non-Star Wars,
Mhm.
Japanese titles. And what I really like about this one is so I've already seen the episodes, right? I already like know them a certain way. And then when you read this, like it really is like the episode almost like shot by shot, but because of the Japanese art style, they managed to make even like the kind of tamer scenes look completely epic. Like this one example, like in the one of the beginner episodes, like Ezra has this box or whatever, and he's like jumping up onto the ship. And in the show, it just looks like he jumps and hangs onto the ship. But
Right.
in the manga, like his hair's flowing, he's reaching, and he's just like they just like they exaggerate a lot of his features and the motion to make it look a lot more epic than it looked in the actual show. And that's one thing I love about anime and manga is everything is so extra and exaggerated, and it makes it a lot more exciting. So it's kind of like imagine watching Rebels, but like literally just in a new exciting art style.
Well, I think I haven't gone to my local comic store this week, but I think you've just sold me on going and trying and picking this, see if they have this book, because Rebels is a great show, like you said, and to see it, I dabble in anime. I watched Dragon Ball, I've watched Attack on Titan, I've watched Death Note. I haven't
Those
really
are
gotten a
all
chance to.
great.
I haven't really gotten, but they're the more mainstream. I
Mhm.
mean, so I
No, there's
haven't really
nothing.
gotten.
There's a reason they're mainstream. It's because they're
That's
good.
true.
Star Wars is mainstream, okay?
That's very true. That's very true. But I haven't crossed that bridge yet. Either into Rebels or another very popular book in our Discord, Leia, Princess of Alderaan. I haven't had a chance to get into these yet. The Leia book was written by Hariuchi and Claudia Gray, and was also released in December 2019. And this is the ongoing adaptation of the 2017 novel written by Claudia Gray. This is another one where one volume has been released so far, and one more is on the way. I feel like this Lost Stars is also pretty popular, but when I see conversations in our Discord about Star Wars manga, I feel like 75% of the time this book is going to get brought up, whether it's the story, and I feel like the manga version is almost as popular as the book itself. And I haven't read the book, but I hear the book is grossly underrated by those, since, even though I believe it's a YA novel, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I honestly still need to read the original novel. So I have read this volume before actually reading the novel. And like it had the art style is very beautiful in this one. And I think my favorite thing about this series is how well Leia's facial expressions are. Like
Right.
you can see her happiness, you can see her agony. It's all so well defined. And when I was reading this volume, I got to the end, and it actually ended on like this amazing cliffhanger, right? And I was just like, oh no, like it's over, like what am I going to do now? And then I remembered that there's a number 1 slapped on the front of the cover, so I'm like, oh, okay, it's fine, I'm going to be getting more.
As long as you can wait for a year and a half to get the rest of the story, you'll be just fine.
I guess I can wait.
So the last book that was issued by Yen Press. It's also a very popular book. That is Lost Stars by Yusaka Komiyama and Claudia Gray, which was released in December of 2017. And it is a retelling of Youtini's favorite entry point to the expanded universe. It is, I believe it is on our Foundational 5. Correct me if
That's
I'm wrong.
correct. Yes.
Correct.
That is correct. Okay. And this one actually is complete. There are 3 volumes, and I believe Jared in the chat has gotten all 3. I believe somebody else.
Heather on
in
our
the
screen
chat,
has all 3.
Heather and on our screen has all 3. So this again is also a very popular. The book itself is great. And this is another very popular story. Heather, I'm going to go back to you. Is the reason that this manga is it similar to the Rebels book, and that it tells a very interesting and epic version of the book that we all have come to enjoy, or is there something else that makes this book so unique?
It's unique in the fact that, and this really surprised me when I started it. The manga actually starts about like halfway through the actual novel. They skip a good. That's why I would not recommend this as a replacement for Lost Stars if you have not read Lost Stars. I would definitely read the novel first before picking this up. Like, it is still a great manga series. You should still read it just after you've read the original, because it does skip about halfway through. But what I do love about this series is, again, reading Lost Stars, like, you can visualize all of these scenes and they're great, but actually seeing it like in someone's artwork is a completely different thing. Like, when I read the Lost Stars novel, so many times, like, I just started crying because the scenes are just so, like, either heartbreaking or romantic, and my heart just can't handle it. So then I picked up the manga and I was like, okay, well, I know the story. This manga can't hurt me. I will not let it hurt me. And I lost. So just actually seeing Sienna and Thane's like interactions just like on an actual page, like, and illustrated, is a completely different experience. But I personally think that you should know the story first before getting into it.
To almost not necessarily counter that, but I did this is one of the few ones I did manage to track down and get and read before this before we did this whole episode. And I had known the story-ish, like I read a few, some like maybe like the first like couple sentences of the summary of the Lost Stars, but this is the first like time I read through the entire series was through the manga, and I really enjoyed it. I can definitely tell that there are some points where they're like maybe snipping some things for time, but I really did enjoy reading it through the first time through. Probably reading the book would give me a more complete story, but the manga still does, I feel like, justice and does a really good story there. I just a couple of things I would point out is, like, I really love, and this is more like overarching manga sort of things, but there's several times like when you're like reading through it where I'll just do like an entire splash page of like Vader walking by, and like, we all know Vader is intimidating, but sometimes when you see like the shocked reaction of the poor instance having to put up with Vader and like the power lines being drawn off of him, there's some like really great artwork in here. Like, there's times where like, when I was reading the first couple series, like the art's okay in this one, but then like when it gets to the deeper emotions, like, what's it, Starwind, like the Imperial officer, like sometimes they just draw his face in the most like evil and vile way. So I'm like, this is the worst human being in the whole empire. Like, I hate this dude. Really good artwork in this. Like, it makes the emotions like just out there. So really, really good.
Yeah. Have you read, Caleb? Have you read any more of these current titles?
Not really. No, that's like Lost. I think I mentioned to thumb through some of the Rebels and see some of the artwork in there, but I haven't had a chance to like really read it.
All right, yeah, because these all sound really interesting, and Heather, you're doing an amazing job of selling me. Hopefully, you're selling our audience as well, because I haven't had a chance to dabble in these, and I know that we've got one additional publisher that has kind of really taken a step forward in some unique ways recently. So Heather, I'm gonna let you kind of explain what this what this last publisher has been up to recently.
Okay, so Viz Media, Guardian of the Wills, like I honestly wish I would have picked this book up before doing this show. I literally just found out it existed yesterday, but I heard that the story is very well is very good. But yes, Viz Media, basically any major title that you can think of is most likely Viz Media. Mostly like a lot of the shonen titles. Shonen is kind of like, you know, the mainstream department. You have like Bleach, Naruto, One Piece, some of the newer ones like Demon Slayer, One Punch Man. They do like pretty much all of the really good popular titles. And like with Star Wars, you know, for one, Guardian of the Wills, and the Legends of Luke Skywalker, which I found it interesting that they didn't do the traditional manga format with the whole like, you know, reading backwards and everything. I say backwards. It's only backwards to us. It's not backwards to the Japanese, right?
Mhm.
But yeah, the Legend of Luke Skywalker is one of the ones that I have read, and it is very great. And so I am very much looking forward to the High Republic series coming out, because like I already really love what they're doing with the High Republic, and like a Star Wars High Republic manga, like that's all you have to say to me. Like, yes, please give me that. And I especially love how on the cover of that one you have a completely new character wielding these very like traditional, I don't know if you would call them like samurai sword hilts, but it's just
I can see what you mean by that, though. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, like it's like a katana hilt or something like that.
Mhm.
But it's like it's so unique to the Star Wars universe, and I love how we're getting a lot of this like variety, and I can't wait to see what is behind that cover, because every single time I open up my Amazon orders, that cover is right there along with my other pre-orders, and I'm just like, man, you know, I want to know what else is in there. If I could just get in there, you know.
Exactly. Have you had a chance to read? They like put the first several pages out on the free comic book day. Have you managed to get your hands on that yet?
No, I did not. Is it good? Tell me, is it
It's
good?
like it's good. It's definitely it's a teaser. Like I was reading through. I'm like, yeah, this is pretty good. And I flipped the page and like, wait, it's
it.
It's over already.
Like,
Okay,
it's not even
maybe
a
it's a
great
good thing I haven't seen it
it's
yet.
not even like a great place to end. It's not like a cliffhanger. It's just like you know, like, and we're out of pages. Come back later.
And it's time to do Guardians of the Will, because it's a 2-part preview. The first half is the Edge of Balance, and the last half is Guardians of the Will. So it's just like, oh, and that's it.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I'm really glad this one is coming out really soon, because I feel like I've been waiting forever already, and it's killing me.
Well, it's because it was supposed to come out like at the beginning of June or something like that. It's been delayed like 3 months. So, because it was supposed to be before Wave 2, and it got pushed quite a bit. So we've been waiting for a while.
Hopefully that just means they're fine-tuning it and making it the best that it can be. That's always what I think when things are postponed. So here's hoping.
Yeah. Or it could be like a Thrawn
interesting.
situation where the delay makes it so the gap between the first one and the second one is much shorter. That's what happened with like Ascendancy
like where your head's
trilogy.
at.
And it's
I like where your head's at, yeah. Well, I think this Edge of Balance is actually really interesting, because this is the first time since the Tokyo Pop that we're getting an original an original story as opposed to adaptations. And Caleb, I'm gonna ask you, what are your thoughts on the fact that a majority of what we've gotten as Star Wars manga has been some form of adaptation, whether it be the movie, whether it be a novel? Do you find that odd? Do you find that just, you know, it's a strategic choice because these are the things that are popular? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Like, to be a little like cynical and critical here, I think what like LucasArts and now Disney at right now is doing is they're trying to keep production very close in-house, and they're trying to like be very limited in who they're letting write into worlds. And you know, in case you don't know, Japanese people speak Japanese. There's a literal language barrier about bringing in mangaka and like artists and people halfway across the world to try to translate the story into themes that you're trying to do. So you have to have a lot of like control here. So that's why a lot of people are I think they're giving these they're kind of getting their toes wet. They're putting these things out here so that they can have a little bit more control, get some fun looking art out there, but they don't have to like risk, for like a better term, having like something else like be lost in translation and not sure how they're going to work something into canon. We have an entire section about this later. I think Visions, Star Wars Visions, the anime that they're going to put out at the end of this month is going to be amazing. All of that's non-canon, so I feel like they have a lot more, like, that's by being able to put that label not canon on things, they are way easier to write things off. So that's kind of why I think that they haven't been doing a lot with like manga in the in like that ultra creative sort of thing, is they're trying to be a little more controlling and not have a giant massive legends outpouring of just unrelated works here.
I will say a counterpoint to that. This thing exists, and probably 90% of you guys don't know what this is. But for my
This looks familiar.
No, I do not.
my hyper
this.
nerds, my hyper canon nerds, this is called Vow of the Silver Dawn. It is a Chinese e-novel. Again, so obviously not Japanese, not manga. But it is, from your point of keeping things close to the vest, this is a Chinese e-novel that will likely never be published in the US. Would you like to know how many chapters there are in this book?
Over 80.
Yeah, I
Yes,
was gonna say,
that is
if
correct.
you're asking this question,
Oh,
it's
wow.
because it's a stupid amount of. So I'm going to go with 107.
Well, as of today, it was 290. He publishes one a day.
Oh my goodness.
Well, I'm sorry. What? He publishes one a day?
Also, this is a High Republic story, FYI. So,
Holy
th-
cow!
they
Like,
care, except for in this case, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
so when are we doing an episode on this?
Like
Yeah, we're gonna have to
5
get our
years
hands
from
on
now,
that.
when this dude decides to stop writing chapters, and when people like catch up with like a proper translation, because there are people out that have been doing it on Reddit, but it turns out at like a chapter a week, maybe. I mean, it's a difficult job, translating and localizing.
And it's
yeah,
not like they're getting paid for it, so
no, and yeah, there's one chapter a day that gets written. So yeah, probably 5 years
That's
from now, maybe.
insane.
I don't know.
So Jacob, I believe you're kind of on the novice side with me when it
That
comes
is
to these
absolutely
mangas, right?
correct. Yes.
So what if there was a particular novel? We'll entertain Jared in the chat here, and then I'll even allow you to include Legends. If there was a particular novel that you'd like to see adapted into manga, what would be your first choice?
Ooh, that's very tough. I think I was just like glancing back at my bookshelf to see if I could find something very quickly. I think, the Alphabet Squadron, I think off the top of my head would be a great thing because you have a lot of action.
That's a good choice.
But I think I might go with Resistance Reborn. There's enough mix of action and like drama, and you have so many fun characters that make an appearance in that book, that in a variety of sceneries and settings. I think it could be make for an interesting like visual adaptation through manga.
I can see that.
It's
Yeah.
also just an incredibly good book.
Yeah, that's still on my to be read table. So I'm gonna have to take your word for it as far as how good the book is. Heather, I'm gonna come and since you're on the exact opposite side of the spectrum and you have consumed just about all of it. For those of us like Jared and myself, and like some of our viewers and listeners who might not have done that much manga reading, what would you recommend as your first entry? Like if I'm going to my local comic book store tomorrow and they have every single manga out there, what's the one book that you're telling me to pick up? And why?
We're just talking about Star Wars or manga in general?
No,
okay, Star Wars.
we're gonna limit it to Star Wars.
Okay, good, because like that's a whole thing. I would actually say Rebels. Rebels is a really good one because like I feel like it's a good one to ease into because we're already like familiar with the story.
Okay.
So this would be a good way to just like get a hold on like the style while also like seeing a story that you already like from a different perspective.
Interesting. We've also got a couple of good comments here in the chat. Okay, Undar says a Thrawn manga would be great. That's actually kind of where my head was going. I'd love to see Thrawn in all of his calm and collectedness be turned into some epic manga character. I think that would be a really unique adaptation.
Dude, a constant, pushing up the glasses and, having that angle there. I think that would be good. They did make a Thrawn comic book of the very first series, and that was okay, but not to like step on your toes, okay, Endar, but I feel like the problem is Thrawn's a very like cerebral sort of thing. So like if you were to do a Thrawn manga, like half of it, the screen would just be word bubbles.
Yeah, I can see that. Jared in the chat also, he's kind of calling Jacob out here because Jared says if they did a manga adaptation of Alphabet Squadron, Jacob would never finish it.
Yeah, I've been reading the first novel of I tried to, when Victory's Price came out in March, I'm like, I'm gonna finish I haven't started the trilogy, but I'll finish it before it comes out. I've been reading Alphabet Squadron in quotes, since like January. I'm like 150 pages in, so it's gonna be a while. I still have like 300 pages of this is the farthest I've ever been behind on High Republic stuff. I still have like 300 pages of Out of the Shadows to read before I get to Tempest Runner. So it's been a lot.
Yes. And Be Nasty also in the chat says that Ahsoka would be so good in manga form. I do think I would, of those 3 suggestions, like I said, okay, Undar, your was my first thought. It was going to Thrawn because I love Thrawn, but I think I'm gonna have to go with Be Nasty here. And I think if there's a character that I'd love to see in manga, I think it would be Ahsoka. I think that would be a really good fit for that character.
Absolutely, yeah. I think honestly that makes most sense, also judging on what they've done before with a lot of the YA novels. So I think I would not be surprised if Ahsoka's announced, once they finish up one of the Princess Leia one.
I would love to see I know it's not in the book, but I would love to see the Ahsoka scenes from season 2 in the village, where it was like,
yes,
the scenery was so like heavily Eastern inspired, like with like the like little like garden behind the city. I would love to see something like that in a manga version.
Oh, absolutely. And the 2 layers of, the people on the rooftops, like that's I see that those sorts of scenes all the time in the anime that I've watched. So yeah, I think that seeing that would be really, really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Caleb,
Real quick, sorry, I saw someone in the chat mention "Give me Lords of the Sith," and I had to look back just now just to make sure I had the book correct. But another thing about the Rebels Volume 1, at the very end, there's actually a segment from the beginning of Lords of the Sith. And I actually found that very interesting because like I wasn't really expecting that. And this is like the only place I know of right now where you can get any part of Lords of the Sith in manga form.
Oh, is it like a tie with Cham or something like that? Is that what? Or
I'm not sure what their reason is. It could be because of Cham, but it's basically just like the opening sequence with Vader infiltrating their ship in a really cool fashion. Cool. So yes, definitely. Like I've sold myself and I already have it. If you're gonna start Star Wars manga, just start with this one and be sure to use our Youtini.com affiliate link.
Yes.
All right, Caleb, you mentioned at the top of the show that there's that manga has a different, very unique style of art that is somewhat similar, but in equal parts unique to comics. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about some of the different art styles that are common in manga?
Exactly. Like, there's, we can, tell a lot of difference between like an Arantino and a Noto and, various artists. We can tell like differences between them nowadays, but like the difference between like a comic and a manga are really, really pronounced. And, one of the good things that Lucas and Disney has definitely done is they've always contracted out to the Japanese. We're not, paying Westerners to try to do manga style art. They're getting, they're going to Tokyo, they're going to Japan and actually getting straight from the source, as it were. Manga is nearly always in black and white, and that's kind of because they have a high turnaround. As I said, like inking and coloring over here is kind of split between 2 different people. While in manga, like some of the like bigger things are published like almost weekly, like like Dragon Ball and like One Piece, they come out like 3 or 4 times a week when they're in the height of their like career. So there's not really any time for them to be doing a lot of hyper detailed backgrounds, not any time to even think about doing color. So I think we was several episodes ago, we mentioned that sometimes like it's almost, you would think it'd be trickier to do things in black and white just because you have to have such big contrast between like what is and is not on screen. Um that's something that Heather's also said. Manga's often very much more extreme, they're extra, they're very expressive. Like one of the things that you'll read if you talk about like animation and motion is like stretch and shrink. Is like when you need to express like movement, you can see like limbs like slightly stretch, and you're likely to see that a lot more in manga, of like facial expressions contort and like widen out. And like I said, there's several ones in The Lost Stars where I referenced before, like it like shows like anger, and you could tell like they like hyper express like the eyes, like you can see like the gritting of the teeth, like the about to pop out of their molars, like just like extreme emotions are very easy for manga artists to really express. So, and they're also often more likely to use like whole splash pages. Here, let me get an example here. When we were out at Free Comic Book Day, my wife picked up a little manga of Case Close. Here's the thing. Manga is way smaller page-wise. Like, as you can see, like, so they have less, like per page, they'll have less panels. So it's more likely that, over here we'll get like, 7 or 8. Over like in Case Close, like you'll be lucky to get 4, fit into those 4 pages. So they're a lot more economical and a lot more choice driven with what they're doing per page. So while they both might be 20 pages long, you will get a little bit more story over when you get like a DC or Marvel comic.
Yeah, I do know, while I haven't had too much experience with manga, I do have some experience, or some, I've watched a good number of anime shows. And one of the things that I do notice, and it was mentioned in the chat, for Guardians of the Wills, a lot of the pages were very in your face, sort of say that there's the faces are full of expression, and the faces kind of fill the page. And that is something that is just, that it is very common in Japanese culture, at least in the animes, of to have these over expressive facial features that kind of, that's what they use to tell a story. And when you don't have the colors that we as Western comic readers have, you need to use those expressions, and you need to that's their way of being able to tell what sort, to help tell the story that we we take advantage of, because we have the colors, we have the backgrounds, we can see. You can't have a starfighter battle tell the same story in a manga as you can in a Western comic, because having that blackness of space, just whatchamacallit, Jacob is working on pulling up he had a picture of the
like
cover. You can't see that in manga, because it's yellows and oranges and reds, and that's just not something that happens in manga art.
Exactly. So, the differences are pretty extreme. I said they're both, follow the same sort of things. If you're ever worried about like seeing like, oh, well, I have to read this right to left, like once you kind of warp your head around, okay, I'm going, the opposite way, you're still going top down, like the panels still flow the same way. So, action and like what, it's kind of weird, like when you have to switch between them. But once you kind of make that, recognition of I have to read the opposite way, it's really, really easy to get back into it. So it's not like you're having to learn a new language. It's more like you'll just have to learn how to drive on the opposite side of the road.
And if you do pick up Edge of the Balance, that is a traditional like Western left to right, as far as we can tell. Like that was how the preview is set up. So I guess more in the vein of Legends of Luke Skywalker, a little bit of training wheels there that you're not having to deal with the other direction. But again, It's just like reading comics. Like if you've never read comics, it'll take you all of like 10 seconds to figure out how to read a comic, and then you're good. So
Exactly.
So in addition to these mangas, you know, we are seeing an even greater Eastern influence coming out in the Star Wars universe and the Star Wars and the programs that we have, and that includes Star Wars Visions, Caleb. So
sorry. Just I got excited.
Yeah, no,
so,
like
so before Caleb gets into what exactly Visions is, Heather, that sounded like you are extremely excited about this. Tell us why you were so excited about this.
Oh my gosh, it is literally my two worlds colliding. Never in my life did I ever think I was going to be getting a Star Wars anime. And like, it kind of took a few years, but my dream has finally come true. And not only that, but they are executing it so well by bringing together like a various gosh, I can't even talk. There's so much going on in my brain.
I've gone through. We have like a little. I found a title for each one in like each production company. As we're going to go through them, they're not like, you know, not to, you know, crap on what happened 20 years ago, but like when they got the manga artists for like the very first like Dark Horse publications, they got some people who haven't gone on to do other things. That's not the case here for Star Wars Visions. They have gotten like the cream de la cream. They've gotten some of the best possible studios to do this. So
yeah,
they're the term is, I think, as the kids like to say, they're flexing hard.
Big flex. Yeah, the list.
And I
includes...
remember Jacob.
Oh, sorry. Go
well,
ahead.
Before you get into that, I was gonna say I remember Jacob had made a comment in our internal in our Cosmic Force Slack channel that, and I think you might have even put it in the Discord, that this is a Star Wars themed manga show and anime. Thank you. This is a Star Wars themed anime, not an anime themed Star Wars show. So kind of explain for those who might not understand exactly what the difference is. Kind of explain what you meant by that.
Yeah, so I mean, it's like I'm by no means an expert to talk on this point, but like from what the trailer, it really seemed that it was, and we know this, it was Eastern Japanese storytellers taking the world of Star Wars and showing it how they interpret it and giving like their own spins on it. So it wasn't Lucasfilm going like, I want you to tell this Boba Fett story. This is how this Boba Fett story is going to go. Please like animate it for us. It was like really an like how we talked about earlier, George Lucas had a huge influence from, I almost said Miyazaki, from Kurosawa when making his film. It's like now you're having that reverse, that going in the opposite direction, where all these artists and these animators and these storytellers are really, it just seems like any anime coming out of Japan, but just in that Star Wars framework. And I would much rather have that than the opposite, where it's Disney just pushing the onus on them and having them make what they want.
Disney writing the story and having the production company having to build the rails, as it were.
Yeah.
I think it almost it to me it screams confidence. It says we have faith in the content, in Star Wars content. We have faith in these developers and these creators to say, we are going to allow you to tell your own story, and we have faith in you and in everything else that is going on, that you're going to do it right, you're going to respect it. And I believe, was it Disney Plus, somebody put out kind of like a very short little featurette, like a 2.5 minute, 3.5 minute featurette that featured some of Caleb's gonna list through some of the creators for this, and they really talk about how they grew up with Star Wars and they respect the medium and they respect the stories, and they're telling their own stories in this universe. And if you haven't, like I said, I believe it's Disney Plus. It's like a 3-minute. I think
it's on YouTube. It's like this, but what they put out before even the trailer is like the teaser trailer.
It was like, I remember hearing like one of the announcements. I have no idea who the name of the person was, but it was like a very big, prolific like Japanese anime director. Like their like last project, they were retiring after Visions. Like the last thing they were ever gonna do was Visions, which is wild. Like, just like, imagine like, not Steven Spielberg. He's a little bit too close to George Lucas. I don't know, like Scorsese going out on a like Star Wars movie. Like that'd be like insane. Just but yeah, no, like a high profile, renowned anime director going out on a Star Wars anime.
Yeah, that's incredible. All right, Caleb, why don't you go ahead and kind of run down what we know about Vision so far?
Exactly. There's going to be 9 episodes. Now, they are all going to release on the 22nd, I believe, which is kind of disappointing because that's a Wednesday and that's when we do our show. So we'll still have a show for you that Wednesday. I'm not going to abandon you to watch anime all day long. I swear
I'm going to
right
abandon
now.
you guys. I'm sorry.
That is fine. Yeah.
There's plenty of time earlier in the day to watch it and then come join us Wednesday nights at 8 o'clock.
What if I
I'll
just
just
want to
get
rewatch
sick.
it multiple times?
Then
Yeah,
you
no,
take a break from 8 to 9.
Yeah, Heather has to. Yeah, she has to watch she has to watch
I'll
the
still watch your guys'
subs.
show, I guess.
Or no, she has to watch the dub after she watched the sub version to get the full experience.
That is a question we will be asking later. So the very first one that they have listed is The Duel. That's by the production there is by Kamikaze Doga. Not a lot that this guy has seen yet, but he did do a lot of the 3D art for the first couple intros for the JoJo's Bizarre Adventures openings. So like that's some pretty high level stuff, and it's the basis for what the Ronin novel. When is that novel coming out?
Yes, that is. I actually just pulled that up. That is coming out October 12th.
Exactly.
And Star Wars Visions Ronin, a Visions novel, is coming out by Emma Mieko Candon, is coming out in hardcover on October 12th.
And yes, for those of you not versed in weeb speak, wow, that sounds. Ronin essentially means is a samurai without a master, essentially a wandering swordsman. So this is going to be really cool. It has a R2D2 droid with missiles and a straw hat. Like
hat droid.
It's
Hat droid.
Hat droid's going to be. He's going to move some merch. That's what I'm going to tell you. It's going to be great.
That sounds like the Star Wars version of One Piece.
He's gonna move some merch. He's already moved some merch because there are shirts available that that some of the Youtini staff has already purchased, me being one of them. So go, but I digress. It's
going to be good. I think the next one listed was Lope and Ocho. That's by Geno Studio. They're most famous. I'm really excited because they adapted Golden Kamui, which is one of my favorite currently airing mangas. It's amazing. I think this is the one that's going to have the rabbit girl that's like the same species as Jackson. So
that one looks cute.
Like we're going to get some.
She's not green. I don't know if she's a leppy.
I think I read somewhere that she's like the same species as Jackson. So know. Rabbits come in different colors.
Like green.
Like green.
Like green.
Surely you've seen a green rabbit other than Jax.
Haven't you seen the Peeps Come Easter?
That Peeps are not.
That's right. If I'll count it. So you got yellow and you got pink and you got blue.
Exactly. So no, it's gonna be that one looks like it's gonna be a lot of fun, very cute. Next up was the Tatooine Rhapsody by Studio Colorado, famous for a couple. They've done a lot of like really high profile movies recently, like Penguin Highway. That's on actually I think you can see that on Netflix, I think, or is that Amazon? Anyway, like they have some really like deep sort of art here. It looks like it's going to be I think that one's going to be like a musical show on Tatooine.
Oh yeah, there was like a one of the things in the trailer was like someone like whipping out a guitar at like the the pod racer track.
Exactly, yeah, on the Boot to Eve classic. Yeah. So, a musical? Sure, let's absolutely go with that. Next up is kind of a twofer. It's The Twins and then The Elder. Both of these are by Studio Trigger.
Yes.
This is probably, I was about to say, this is probably the most famous and well-known of the studios. Well-known for, how did I put this? High-octane action. Like Gurren Lagann, Kill la Kill, Little Witch Academia. Like you're going to see some wild stuff. You're going to see big robots, lots of transformations, like super speed. It's insane.
For those listening, and I've touched on this on my episode of Cafe Faves with Andrew, because I can't stop talking about this show. anyone listening to this right now who has never seen anime but just wants a taste of what's to come, watch Promare. It's just a single movie. You don't have to commit to like a whole like season or anything. It's just a one-off movie, and you will see just what Trigger Studios can do, and you will not be disappointed. This movie, like, I mean, there's still a story, you can still tell what's going on, and it has amazing characters, but altogether it's like just one big fever dream. You kind of just have to sit back and let it happen, you know. It's a ride.
Like they have very bright pastel colors. Like this one's going to be these are two ones to definitely watch. Like, this is exciting.
The Twins is the one I'm most looking forward to. And that one seems to be like the poster child of all the trailers that are coming out. Like the Twins is the one that keeps popping up when they advertise this show.
Exactly. Moving on, the next one listed was The Village Bride. Not a lot is known about this one. This one's by Cinema Citrus, who made Made in Abyss. Man, that didn't flow terribly well. They've done a couple of relatively high profile ones. Haven't really seen much of what they've done because, again, I'm a retired weeaboo. I'm tired. I don't watch everything that comes out anymore.
Why are you so tired?
Because no, I'm a retired. I retired because I was tired. Yes.
Come back to the light, Caleb. Embrace the weeb.
There's a lot of good stuff you're missing.
Visions is straight up gonna be a gateway drug to anime for a lot of people.
That's oh yeah. I think you're right.
When you guys are ready, come to me for recommendations.
Yeah, like Heather and I, she will definitely get you pointed down to right path. I'll get you pointed down to wrong path.
Oh goodness.
Like, the next up is Arakiri and Toby One, both by Science Saru. Right behind Trigger, they're probably the most they have a massive amount of clout. Maybe not the most like, when you hear the name you don't think about, but Masaka Urasa is probably the most arguably famous current director of anime right now. He's the brain power behind Devilman Crybaby. Just the same studio that did Space Dandy. Like, there's going to be
Space Dandy is so good.
It really is. So, like, this is another big one to be watching. And then the last one, OK Endar's been screaming about them in the chat. The Ninth Jedi is by Production IG, and that's the same one who did Haikyuu, Psychopaths, and Ghost in the Shell, the standalone complex, the series. This is kind of like maybe a little sleeper one, but the fans of Production IG are like rabid. They're going to be like, this is going to be a really good one. I think they actually said that the Ninth Jedi is going to be like but their version is after the Rise of Skywalker, after the episode 9. So we get to see like how some people think what happens after the third trilogy is. So this one should be really, really exciting here.
I mean, that'll join the Lego Holiday Special as the only other piece of canon media that takes place after the 9th movie. So rarefied air.
Non-canon. None of these, like, officially published, yes, but none of these are technically canon.
Well, I'm going to reserve judgment on that. We'll see.
We'll see. Like, if we like it enough.
There's some stuff that's obviously absolutely not going to fit with the universe, but they've been very, like, purposely vague, so you never know. Maybe it's a little bit of like a myths and fables. Some stuff fits, some stuff's a little bit more far-fetched.
Maybe
if you want it to be canon, it can be canon to you.
There you go.
In my heart, it is canon.
Don't you mean head canon?
In my wallet, right. It is canon.
Mm-hmm. The last question of the night is arguably the most important when it comes to these. Are you now, for those of you who don't know, Caleb, you had mentioned dubbed versus subbed. So why don't you give our listeners a little bit of explanation as to what that is, and then we're all gonna go around and kind of give our thoughts on which version we're gonna watch, or both, of course.
Dubbed and sub is the 21st equivalent of charcoal versus gas. It is a huge debate that a lot of people get really passionate about. And, to a mild degree, I can see it. Essentially means is, do you rather listen to your anime in the original Japanese audio language, where they don't have to worry so much about lip dubbing, where people are speaking like the purest script possible? Or do you listen to it in the dubbed version where, afterwards to bring it over to America, they cut the audio and recast it with American or English actors speaking English, where they had to chop up maybe some of the dialogue to fit the lip flaps. So which one
very
is
notable,
better?
very notable cast as well for this.
Oh, there's like a huge cast list on both sides, but they have Neil Patrick Harris, I think, is in there.
I know Mark Thompson,
Mark Thompson of
extraordinaire.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Neil Patrick Harris, Allison Brie, David. There's a couple of there's a good number of them.
Yeah, it's going to be insane. A lot of people in chat are already saying they're doing both. I think for my first time through, I think I'm going to do I don't know. I think I might do the subs. I do. In my normal watching, this is maybe a bit of sacrilegious here. I do like listening to dubs because I feel like I can pay more attention to the animation and what's going on the screen. I definitely feel like I'll be swapping back and forth between these. Maybe I'll do one episode dubbed and then one episode subbed and kind of swap back and forth. That's honestly, I think that's how I'm going to do it. Is I'm going to pick one and then swap in between it when I'm watching the series.
Heather, what about you? Which way are you going to go first?
Okay, I'm getting on my soapbox. You guys ready?
Sit back. Give Heather the full screen.
Like Caleb said, it's a controversy, right? It really is. So there are pros and cons to both. So subbed, I mean, you're kind of listening to the show as the original artist truly intended, right? And of course, it being Japanese, it feels a lot more authentic. So I personally prefer subbed. But of course, there is nothing wrong with watching it dubbed because it's mostly an accessibility thing, I think, because a lot of people I know who listen to dub, their reason is that they're not as fast of a reader. So they would rather just listen. Or because they have to read, they feel like they can't do other things in their daily lives. Like maybe they want to watch a show while they're eating and cooking or doing chores, getting ready for work.
Sure.
Exactly. And it's kind of difficult to do that when you have to focus on reading. So I get that there's pros and cons to either. My main reason for listening to it subbed, other than it feels really authentic, is a lot of the case with dubbed. Whoever is in control of hiring the English voice actors, they typically pull from the same group of people. So oftentimes you will hear the exact same voices in most of the shows that you watch, regardless of what the show is or who the character is. You happen to hear the exact same voice in these characters, and so it's kind of hard to find that individuality in these characters because they all kind of just sound the same. So that's really my reasoning. But really, when it comes down to it, whether it's subbed or dubbed, if you're watching anime, that's really all I can ask.
There you go. I will excuse me. I usually watch the anime subbed because I am a quick reader, and just like you had mentioned, Heather, I kind of, that's the way that that's in its purest form. So that's kind of the way that I am going to that I typically tend to watch it. But I think for this one, I think I'm going to do both. I think I'm going to start with the subbed and really kind of consume it in that way, the way that arguably was meant to be. But hearing you're seeing the list of A-list actors that they have as the dubbed actors, voice actors, I think it will be differently but equally entertaining as a sub. So I'm gonna go subbed first, but then I'm probably gonna follow it up with the dubbed version. Jacob?
I'll probably end up doing the same thing just because I am curious to know what the dubs sound like, because it might be different than what I'm used to in usual dubbed anime.
Yeah,
Jacob, what about you?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna echo the same point. Yes, I think I'll go sub first and then dub. Yeah, like Heather said, I'm very interested in the cast because it's a diverse cast. It doesn't seem like it's gonna be that you're gonna have that repeat problem of same voice actors that you were saying earlier. But at least for me personally, I've had trouble paying attention through Disney Plus shows recently. Like towards the end of Bad Batch, I was like kind of like not fully engaged the whole time. It was a good show, like I was enjoying it, but I was like looking at my phone or whatever. And if I watch subs first, I mean obviously I get the authentic experience, but then also forces me to look at the screen. And I'm like, so like I'm like I have to pay attention, or I'm like literally gonna have zero idea what's going on. So I'll probably do that, and then I'll check out the dub because get the second rewatch. Maybe not have to be engaged as much, but still re-experience the story. And hear what that's like. So I think sub first, then dub, and then we'll go from there.
I mean, in some cases, dubbed actually gets special treatment to where, at least in my opinion, it becomes the better option. Like, for example, with Space Dandy. Space Dandy, I actually really prefer dubbed. I have tried the English and it actually like just doesn't feel right to me. Or like, have you guys heard the Japanese version of like Goku from Dragon Ball? It's very, very different than the English version. So like in some cases, I mean, dubbed, it might actually be better for you.
Yes, fun fact, just minor brief aside. Space Dandy was actually when they were developing, they actually did it so they could release it at the same time in both English and Japanese. So it wasn't something like Japanese and then translate to English. They're doing it at the same time. So that's, I think, why the dub was such a really good choice on that one.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming that's something they're doing here. Is I think they definitely knew that this was going to be in English at some point, so I wouldn't be surprised if they made special consideration for that.
Right. The nice thing is you're not going to have to deal with there's often a lot of localization hurdles with going from sub to dub. Like the famous Pokemon anime where the Team Rocket's eating a jelly-filled donut, but it's like a rice ball. So it's just
that happens.
It's there's no oh, this is a comm link, and suddenly it's a lightsaber, and when it's in English, we're probably not gonna have to deal with that thing. So at least the story is gonna be pretty one-to-one.
Exactly. I don't think they'll have to for kids out the violence.
Well, however you are consuming it, we just hope that you do, because this is a new medium for Star Wars to venture into, and the four of us here are excited for it, and hopefully you are as well. So before we go, I do want to give a special thank you to Heather for joining us tonight, and give you an opportunity to plug the other show that you are on, Caf Faves. So for those who might not know what Caf Faves is, kind of give a little plug for that show.
So Caf Faves is a show where we pick a topic, whether it be like a favorite book, favorite character. I mean, usually the topics are a little more specific than that. I'm just throwing them out there. And then we will pick our top 3 whatevers from that category or that topic. And we'll just, start from number 3, take turns and work our way up. And because it's Caf Faves, we always bring a drink along on the show, kind of like what we did with this one here. You could bring like coffee, tea, even water. Meg has done that a couple times. She would just bring water to the show.
But hydro, homie.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, stay hydrated, peeps. So just the whole ordeal is you grab a drink with us, and then you listen to our favorite things, and it usually goes off the rails because we're either too caffeinated or too buzzed, and we just go off on tangents and act crazy. But it's a super casual show to just have on, with whatever you're doing, driving, whatever.
And when does that? When does Cafe? When was the last episode of Caf Faves?
That's a good question. Last Friday. When was last Friday?
I feel
it was
like
August something.
Okay.
It is a Patreon show, but we do have it is a 3-month delay. So if you're not a member of our Patreon, you can get the episodes 3 months after they come out. But the nice thing is Caf Faves isn't it's not a timely thing. It's not like we're talking about the Out of the Shadows today. We're talking about Star Wars stuff, so it's evergreen. You don't have to worry about it being right away. So check it out.
Sometimes it can be pretty improvised. Like sometimes we'll come up with our topic just like an hour before the show, and we'll just wing it.
Those are always the fun shows when you don't have anything prepared, you just get to talk and you just get to hang out. So, all right. Well, thank you very much, Heather, for joining us. And one more reminder, next week is our High Republic roundtable for the first trade paperback, There Is No Fear. We're all extremely excited to talk about this. I know most of you that are in the Star Wars comics Discord channel have been reading this issue to issue. So we really encourage you all to join us next week. Wednesday night at 8 o'clock, so we can talk about this because we're really excited to talk about it. But until then, that is going to do it for this week's episode of The Cosmic Force. Don't forget to subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts or right here on YouTube, where we are live every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Be sure to also visit youtini.com for reviews, articles, and news for the entire expanded universe. And go ahead and join us in Discord, in our Discord community, by going to youtini.com/Discord. Talk about your favorite anime or your favorite manga title or your favorite Star Wars book, whatever it is. You can join us at youtini.com/Discord, or you can even help support the show by heading to patreon.com/Youtini and start receiving exclusive perks like the most recent episodes of Calf Faves, starting at just $5 a month. A special thank you to OK Endar, Cheryl Bell, Patrick Ortiz, and Carl Sander on our Jedi High Council, as well as Carl Hickman, Elizabeth Cloutier, Jason Mitchell, Freddie C., and Sally and Chris Eilerson on our Alliance High Command for their amazing support. You can tweet at the show at Cosmic Force Show on Twitter, or the host individually. I'm at Ty Rags. Emma is at Irma Jedi 26. Caleb is at Caleb Lamanek. Jacob is at Jacob Bosch. And Heather is at Heather G. I apologize for butchering that. It was in the notes, and
also follow me on TikTok at Heather1027. I'm gonna be doing Star Wars bin unboxing things because I have like 13 bins and I don't even know what's in them. So we'll find out together.
Go. So find Heather wherever you can in our Discord, on TikTok, on Twitter, or whatever other social media platforms you use. Thanks again to Heather, Caleb, and Jacob for hosting with me tonight. A special thank you to our listeners in the chat with us tonight, or wherever and whenever you are listening to us in the future. Thank you very much, and we appreciate you. Until next week, may the Force be with you.